As we let people trickle in here, I'm just going to kind of share my screen and go over a little bit about what we'll be talking about today. So I'll get that up and running, but yeah, we'll just let people come in. And honestly, this is going to be a pretty casual conversation about how one of our customers use MemoryFox. The point here is to just really do a deep dive into what you guys did and give people ideas for how they can use it for their camp or for their retreat centers or any sort of physical space that they have, an opportunity to gamify the use of MemoryFox. So today we'll be talking about who we are a little bit, who you are. We'll do some Q&A about how you use MemoryFox to collect camp stories, a little bit about our Canva integration and how that was helpful to get that content shared. And then I'll do a quick MemoryFox demo for anybody who just wants to learn a little bit more about our platform. But of course, people are always welcome to schedule some one-on-one time with me and do a deeper dive into how, what your processes are like and see how MemoryFox could fit. So to get us going, I'll just share a little bit about MemoryFox so that people kind of understand the context of what you used. So again, Danielle here from the MemoryFox team. And we are a content collection and management tool for nonprofits. So our tool helps collect, organize, and share stories from their community. So in Camp Ao-Wa-Kiya's space, we helped them collect stories from all of their different programs with a no download app, and they can collect, and they gamified it. And he's going to talk through a deeper dive into what that looks like. But it's a tool that helps. We have a collection tool. Actually, I'll just hop over to this screen here. So we have collect, organize, and share is the layout of MemoryFox. So this is the collection tool. We're able to create these guided content collection campaigns and share them with your community in person there on site. And this is an example campaign that if people want to take a quick peek at while we're chatting, feel free to scan that with your phone if you got it nearby. And this is an actual campaign that the camp used to collect stories for one of their retreats. And as you can see, it's very simple, very clean, which is really helpful in getting people to do it. This is a live campaign, so I would ask that people don't submit anything, but feel free to just peek around to see what an actual campaign would look like. And then this is the organized side. So as you start collecting all that content, it all starts to live in your story bank here, where all of your pictures and videos, testimonials are stored in a cloud and easy to find. And lastly, we have some sharing options where you can either download that content or you can take it to Canva, which we'll talk about, and we have some other options as well. So that's really a little bit about MemoryFox. And I'd love to hear from you, Troy, and want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your camp.
Yeah. My name is Troy Holstead. I'm the program manager at Camp Ao-Wa-Kiya. We're just north of Muskegon, which is north of Grand Rapids in Michigan. And I would say we're a small to medium-sized camp. Our camp weeks range anywhere from about 50 to 320 campers, but normally we're around 100 to 150 per each week. And basically, we are, like I said, a Christian camp right up there. And we do a bunch of things. We're right on the lakefront, but we also have quite a cool adventure course of zip lining, rock climbing, and things like that. So we do a lot outside in nature. And things like that. So being a small camp, we are also volunteer run, which creates it's a fun challenge because you get a lot of people that come back again to help out. But it's definitely has its struggles with it. And one of the things we had really of a struggle is getting media, video specifically now these days, and photos and things like that. So that's why we started looking, and we landed on MemoryFox in our search.
That's awesome. Yeah, your camp also sounds really fun, and I would love to come visit sometime. But yeah, that is awesome. Thanks for sharing that background, and thanks for joining us today to talk a little bit more about how you used our tool, because I know you are a busy guy. You got people coming in soon, got paddle boards to fix. So we'll probably get through this in less than an hour. We did set aside that amount of time, but yeah, looking forward to chatting today. So, and I just have this up here because I think, just to your point, the problem that I think we help solve and we hopefully help y'all with is, you have a lot of times you bring so much value to your community, and it's so hard to have proof of that. And in this day and age, it's so important to have pictures and videos. It's like that saying, like, pics or it didn't happen. I don't know. It's just like having content to kind of show the proof of impact for all the work that you do is so important. So, building a culture of storytelling too. I think it's so cool how you integrated MemoryFox into your programs and gamified it, and built a culture around storytelling and making people feel comfortable with sharing. And I also think what's cool about that for your camp specifically, and I know not everybody allows people to use internet at camp, which we'll touch on. But I think because you guys do such a good job of teaching people how to be mindful with it, and you do allow people to use it because it is part of our life in general. So I think that's a really cool element to your camp, and you were able to build a culture of storytelling around that. So I love that part of what y'all did. And then, just increasing program participation, which we'll talk about, because you had pictures to show what the programs were like. And you have pictures and videos to show volunteers and camp counselors what it would be like to work there. So showing people why they would want to be part of a program, part of a retreat, a camp, or work for you, showing them is so much easier than telling them. So we're so grateful that we were able to help you with that, with MemoryFox. And then lastly, just having marketing content for year round, because obviously I know camp just happens in the summer in a lot of places like Michigan, Buffalo, where I'm from, although we do have some outdoor camps. But having content for year round, I think, can be super helpful as well. But I'm actually going to take down my sharing screen right now, and we're just going to have a quick chat, and I'll ask you a couple questions so you can share your insights with the people here today. So you already talked a little bit about what challenges you were having prior to using MemoryFox, but I'm curious, what are the types of stories that make up your organization? Like, whose story is it important for you to tell?
Yeah, so kind of going back to challenges, but also the stories. As a camp, you guys know, or you've been to a camp and seen it. Like, there's so much happening at the same time. You might have kids doing archery on the shooting range, down below on our water obstacle course. Like I said, we have volunteers. Maybe they're helping fix a cabin or things like that. So we saw a problem and also an opportunity with that. We were like, well, we have one camera person going and getting one view at a time, where we saw MemoryFox and said, hey, what if everyone has a phone? They're kind of capturing these things at the same time. So we go from one point of perspective to all of a sudden 100, which was exciting. And they each have their own story. And that was so cool, where all of a sudden we were getting photos and videos of, like, here's what it is from like the camper's perspective, and they're being silly of these photos. And it's so much fun to see. But then all of a sudden you get the counselor ones, where all of a sudden the counselor's like, hey, let's get the whole cabin together and take photos. Which even that was awesome to see all the campers come together in some of those photos. And those are like vital moments during the week to see like those relationships being built. And even from, like I said, our volunteer things, like having them just take photos of, hey, we're working on this thing. All of a sudden, when they get to go back home, not only do we get to say, hey, here's what they did and here's what they worked on, they get to then show other people of that, their story that they lived while they were here. So it's been awesome for sure.
I love that the camp counselors being like ambassadors for MemoryFox and having them take ownership of it, because that's really like how I think we end up seeing the most success, is when you have people taking ownership of it. So that's really cool to hear people were like on board with, taking part in collecting those memories as a group. That's awesome. So so let's just dive right into your process. So what we want to share with people is kind of what your process was like for using MemoryFox, and how did you deploy it? Like, what did you do to actually get people to participate? What that look like for you?
Yeah. So how we use MemoryFox, like at first, I guess I should start off. We're at camp. We do something strange. I know a lot of camps don't do it, but we allow our campers to have phones. Definitely at this time of age, kids are going to bring their phones wherever they go throughout school and things. So one of the big things we focus on with our counselors and in training and things is, here, you get your phone, but how do you use it correctly, responsibly, while you have it? So with that in mind, and once we had our MemoryFox subscription, we're like, how can we use this for this? And we wanted to make it as fun and as simple as possible. So what we ended up doing is we gamified it. I know Danielle likes to call it that, where basically every meal is actually what we ended up doing is we would choose 3 to 10, depending on how many photos came in. And by the end of the week, it was always about choosing 10 because I could never just choose 3 photos that were the best. But basically, we do this big thing where we keep points during the whole week. And at the end, they get to go. We have this, it's called Country Dairy. It's this little dairy farm. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen. But the winning team gets to go there. And basically what we had was every day you get to take whoever had the best photos. And if they got drawn, and we'd show them at mealtime, and we'd have a big drum roll as we went to it and things like that. Whoever took the best photo, it'd go up there. And then they get to choose it from there. So it was always fascinating to see at the beginning of the week, because this last year was the first time we used it. Like you get the first Monday, you get maybe like 10, 15 photos in, but by the end of the week, I felt like we were getting 50 to like 100 photo in between, where everyone like bought in, and they were excited to take photos, and you see those experiences and be like, hey, how can we use this, and just kind of made the week even better, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, so this was a really cool image that you shared with us, where it looks like you put it up at the camp. You actually share a QR code at the camp so people could see these in like your dining hall, was it?
Yeah. So we have this big, huge TV right when they walk in the dining. It shows like the menu and things, but this would be one of them. We also printed out paper with the same thing. But then they would take take an image of it, which one of the cool things was, so as a camp, and if you guys are part of a campground, Wi-Fi is a struggle and how you get it. One thing that we did do a lot of times is they take the photos, they scan the QR code, then dump all the photos that they did right there. So even though that QR code wasn't always with them, once they got to the dining hall, it was easy just to quick scan it and then upload all those photos that they took throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point, because obviously not everybody's camp allows internet. And I think that, just having that bulk upload feature where you can have people look at it later and upload photos later, still allows even camps that don't allow phones and don't allow internet, in actual programs, to be able to take them later. And we'll talk later a little bit more about other advice that you have for camps that don't allow phones at all. But that's a feature that we do have that allows people to bulk upload stuff, because everybody knows the challenge of trying to share like a video file that's too big, or someone has an Android or an iPhone, or you want to send 20 pictures. MemoryFox just makes it super easy from a file sharing standpoint. So there's a step where you can just choose multiple photos and send them over. So glad to hear that was helpful. And that's the collection side of things, right? So they were collecting all these stories, gamifying it, providing that QR code ahead of time. Did you all send the links out at all prior to camp to anyone, or was it all just kind of in person?
So yeah, we normally just used in person, but during kind of registration process, we also had a similar printout with those links, kind of like at the beginning too, that quickly explained how it would work.
Cool. Yeah. And so I'll just pull over into your content library really quick, so people can see where all of your content lives. And so this is the collection side, but this is the organized side. So what's nice for them is that this is where all of their content lives. And I know that there's 2 views that you really used a lot, which, this is your story bank, where all of your content lives. Anything that's new is going to populate at the top, and he's able to search by campaign, by question across multiple campaigns. You can create. Do you guys use the tags? Do you tag things? I see tag something.
No, you can see I tested it a little bit, but I didn't use any of the tags.
Well, you can tag it if you wanted to remember to use it for your website. You can tag it website or Instagram. But as you can see, it just is all the stories that they actually collected here, and it lives here in the story bank. But you also have them in Canva, which is part of the share side. So aside from being able to download all that content right from your story bank, he also has access to all of his content right here within his Canva account. So for anybody that has a Canva account, we have an integration with them. You can search by MemoryFox in the Canva store. And then right here, you click MemoryFox, and look, this is all your content that's submitted through those links. So tell me about what you did for how you shared that content on your screen.
Yeah. So like I said, at each meal we would we kind of choose together. We had like a small team of like 3 people who would choose the best photos every day, to make sure it wasn't biased, of course.
Yeah.
But basically what we do is we go to the Canva, we look at it, and like we had those campaigns right there. We choose the campaign of the week that it was and kind of scroll through. Oh, it gets me every time. It's too cute.
So cute.
Yeah, but we go through it and then we choose which 3 we'd want and we put it on there. And the cool thing with MemoryFox is you can ask questions, so there'll be form. And basically what we'd have it is you choose a photo and then it would say like their name or something, or like their team name. So we just quick type that in on the Canva and then be one of them. So then all of a sudden we turn off that TV that was showing that QR code from before, quick change the slideshow, and we turn it back on. And then all of a sudden I say, oh, it's that time of the day again. It's time for the MemoryFox daily photo winners right now. And then we'd unveil them. And it was hilarious because you always get the uproar when they're cabin and table one. Oh, it was good. Gosh. It was fun.
Is there a video of that? Because that's amazing. I need a video.
Not that I know of, but I'm sure someone might have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a video of that this next season. So yeah. I love that. Yeah, and just to your point too about the campaigns. So you know, you can also customize. So in the campaigns, and we'll do a deeper dive into this in a second here, but just to kind of put in context what Troy's talking about here, in the collection tool, you do have it customized to your organization. So he's able to have his logo right here at the top. And then you're able to customize here your storyteller prompts. You are able to collect consent at the beginning as well, but from what I understand, you already ask consent before people sign up. Is that true?
Correct. Yeah. That was part of one of our initial forms, but it is super easy and it's just one of those, again, those form things, and you can ask a bunch of things, whatever you need to collect, which was awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So if you do need to collect consent in the form, you can, but I do think that for your specific use case, I think it's great if you do it prior to, because the less amount of steps to get to this screen, the better, right?
Yes.
Because if you go right from here, you introduce the campaign, ask for their name really quick, because that will always be tied to that piece of content. And then this is where it turns into almost like your scavenger hunt and your different requests, right? So what were some example prompts that you had here? I know you talked a little bit about it, but if you just want to share 1 or 2 example questions that you asked here.
Yeah. So one of the things, especially our high school week, if you look at that one, where we had a few different questions, and that was kind of going with what kind of media we wanted to collect during the week. So one we had, it was like, I think you pulled it, you showed it a little bit earlier, where it was called Photo Snipe, where we had campers try to take a photo of their counselors without their counselors noticing them and things. And we had other ones, like I said, it was just best photo of the day, best action shot of the day. And then one of that was really important for us. So we're a Christian organization. We had just like having a serious moment. Those are always like the most awkward photos to take for someone with a camera right there. So when you have kids that just kind of are easily in the moment type things, that was awesome to see. Just when we got some content there too, that was awesome from the week as well.
That's really cool that you were able to actually, so it's all fun too, but then you have some real mission behind your work. Then I'm sure it's important to also capture like some real stories behind that too, that actually kind of show the impact. Photo Snipe is my new favorite as well. Those are probably the best photos. But yeah, I think it's so cool to hear how you guys gamified that and actually have some of the coolest content that I've seen. So that kind of brings me to my next question here, is the share side. So, you know, we talked about how you collected it, how we organize it, how you share some of it in Canva, but then there's also the marketing side and what you do with that content, where it lives. And I know that we had, you have a lot on your website as well as social media. I'm going to pull up this video really quick, which is actually a MemoryFox one that we created. And it's just an Instagram reel. It's really cute, and it has a bunch of videos from your camp. And I know that Carly, who's in the chat, who helped build this in Canva, right, Carly? You built it in Canva. but I know there's also CapCut is another great one. I don't know. What did you all use? What are you using for your social media? Do you schedule it? Do you just download it right from MemoryFox and then, or do you use Canva to edit everything for social media?
Yeah, for us, we continue to use Canva, and then just like you said, we'll with that integration easily just bring it over, add it to either templates or something I design, and then schedule it right there from Canva.
Awesome.
But yeah.
That makes it super easy, probably that it's all right there for you to use. But yeah, this was definitely a really cool video to see your guys' programs in action. And I imagine it probably helps to have people be able to see what your programs look like, which also brings me to your website. I'm going to bring up here really quickly. So in your website, you mentioned, I think about at least 30% of your content is all captured through MemoryFox. Is that true?
Yeah. So when I read all the website this year, a lot of it is coming from Canva photos that are just like, and that's what makes it so good, especially coming from a camp side of things. A lot of the photos that you're taking, you want to be like in the moment type things. They're good to have like the stage, like photographer take the photo, but having those actual like, hey, that was part of Canva. Like that was like a camper took that. It's been so awesome. Kind of as you go from it. Yeah, the one that you just had of tubing. I remember that was someone that hopped on the boat that took that photo, and I believe that came from MemoryFox. So it's been cool for sure.
Yeah, it looks like you have a mix here, a mix of like some like maybe some drone footage, some like other options, and then you've got some real authentic pictures that they took, which we call community generated content.
Yeah.
So it must be nice to have a mix of that so people can see like, yeah, like Carly said, like the authenticity in your camp and how much fun people are really having. Cool. I don't know what's happening in this video. This game I have watched a few times. I feel like I would be really good at it, just saying. Okay, cool. And the last thing I just wanted to ask you to kind of tie things up here is, you know, your success as a camp. I know like we talked a little bit about what you've done with all this content and the difference that it's made for you to have it. But I mean, has it impacted like signups or like, is there any like tangible things that you've seen kind of help with the success or goals that you guys had as an organization?
Yeah. So a lot of what we've been talking about is summer camp and how we used it. And we used it to so much potential. It was awesome, for sure. But something recently that we've seen actually quantifiable like improvements in is our retreat season. So I know some of you have probably already gone through the Laser Retreat QR code and things like that, but we use the same MemoryFox gamifying and things like that for our retreat season. And I quickly turned that things around because it was so easy. And I ended up using it for some of our then spring events. So specifically, I know we talked a little bit about, we had a quilting retreat. I mean, this is about a month ago. And I used a lot of photos that were from that Laser Retreat. So all of a sudden it was going from just public domain images, like, you know, nice photos that you might get from like Unsplash or something like that, to now, oh, that's Camp Ao-Wa-Kiya. Oh, look at that beautiful sunrise, things like that. Where all of a sudden we saw our quilting, we'd have like 20 ladies. It was a small, quaint boutique, I believe is what you're supposed to call it. Little event. So all of a sudden this last one, we had around 50 ladies. And obviously you can't quite point it, but I can tell you right now, it helped a lot to have, hey, here's actually what it's going to be like and things like that. And we got that from MemoryFox.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, it's cool to see when things actually start to make a difference, because I think a lot of times it's hard, especially from a marketing perspective, to quantify like the impact that stories have, but we know that it's important. So it's cool to hear that there was some actual numbers that changed and you guys were able to increase participation by having content to share. So well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Oh, the other question that I was just going to ask you really quickly was just about any advice you had to camps that don't allow phones, or like either they don't allow phones at all, or you know, if they do allow just no internet, like anything you would tell people that don't have the luxury that you do.
Yeah, so I think a couple big things is obviously if your counselors have phones, we had a huge buy-in from counselors. So I still think there is value in still joining this, just because of having that counselor side of how they can bring campers in above anything else. And also, like I said, staff members, those different stories that you get from those avenues as well. One thing that we haven't done, we're looking to do as we kind of go from it, is how can we use MemoryFox as kids are away? I know as a camp, one of those things everyone struggles with is how can we continue to connect while they're gone from us? One thing that we've talked about a lot of our meetings is using MemoryFox to say, hey, maybe we have an off-season campaign or something like that, where we also can collect maybe just kids saying stories of things that happened at camp or things they're excited for to doing at camp. And things like that, and just being able to connect and then use that in marketing. I know we've talked a lot about doing that, and I'm excited to implement that in the year to come.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just kind of keeping people engaged, what they're excited about, or even like after camp is over, like what was your, like if you ask feedback, I feel like the word feedback can be like,
yeah,
kind of daunting. People are like, I don't have time for feedback. But like if you want to share like your reflections for camp, and like get people to share afterwards, you know, hey, what was something that stood out to you? What won't you forget? You know, if there's a future camper considering joining this program, what advice would you give them? Things like that to kind of get them to reflect. So you have some stories about people's memories from the camp. So love that.
Yeah, and definitely I know a lot of camps, in fact, every camp, they always have surveys at the end of things that are just boring, you know, you check boxes and things like that. Having a campaign at the end of something like that, where all of a sudden they can tell you exactly how they're excited. One, you get content that you can use, but then that's also getting honest feedback that they're excited about. A lot better than just nothing wrong with the little bubbles thing, but it's kind of old.
No, I know that, like we ask for feedback all the time, but I feel like maybe there's a different word for it. I've been using wish list. I don't know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Troy, thank you so much. We're going to let you get back to, you know, doing all of the patching of the paddle boards and all the things that you need to do to get ready for your camp this summer. But thank you so much for your time and for being an amazing MemoryFox customer and getting some of the best content that we've seen. So and thank you for taking the time to share your experience with other people, because I hope that people can learn from that and see the success that you've had. So thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you also. It's been awesome, and I'm excited to see how we'll use it in the years to come. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy.
See you guys.
Yeah. So I'm going to just take a couple seconds, and I know that I've already walked through what MemoryFox is in that presentation, so this should only take a couple of minutes. I'm just going to share my screen and walk through what our tool looks like a little bit. And feel free, you know, if you have any other questions or things you want to talk about, feel free to put it in the chat anytime. I'm happy to answer them. But I'm just going to do a real quick walkthrough of the platform just to kind of reiterate some of the things that we just talked about. So the layout of MemoryFox, as a reminder, is collect, organize, and share. And I always like to share just a little bit of background about us. You know, MemoryFox is a tool that just helps collect stories from nonprofits, but we had initially started as an individual storytelling platform, and we use it as a way to collect stories about pictures. And that's really where the memory side of MemoryFox come from. And we are a veteran-owned organization as well. So working in service is so important to our organization. And we initially designed and pivoted to a community storytelling platform alongside three main issues that nonprofits were having, which was collecting content from your community can be really tough. Organizing it on the back end, so having one location where all that content lives, a library where it's all stored and organized and accessible. And lastly, just having a more efficient and modern way to share your story, what to do with that content. And like I mentioned, we work with all nonprofits, mission-driven organizations. So as we continue to make improvements to our tool, we really do so alongside the feedback we get from nonprofits, like our Canva integration. And like I mentioned, collect, organize, and share. So this would be a custom URL in this collection tool. So it would be your camp's name here, your URL here, .membox.io / and you name the campaign around what you want to collect stories around. Within a MemoryFox subscription, you do get unlimited campaigns and unlimited storage. There's no download required. There's no password protection. So we call it a barrier-free experience, makes it super simple for people to just scan that QR code and dive right into sharing. And so this would be your logo here, the description, the why you're asking people to share. This would be your user data. You're going to ask for whatever information about that storyteller that you need. And that's always going to be tied to that piece of content. And this is your consent screen. So if you did need to collect user consent so that you can use this content for whatever you need, you can actually customize this form here and check this box to continue. And these are your storyteller prompts. So this is where you're guiding people to share really specifically the types of stories that you want them to talk about. And it's, again, set up like a progress tracker to kind of encourage them to go down the list here. But like Troy did, he only used one prompt per campaign. Totally fine. You can set it up however you'd like. And then this is right within the recording screen. What's nice is that whatever question they choose to answer, right within the recording screen, they are reminded of what to talk about. So in this, it gives them a little bit of direction, like in 30 seconds or less. That's if you want to try to encourage them to be short and sweet, which we do recommend. But ultimately, people can submit whatever size file they'd like. But this is a good opportunity to give them some really specific directions on what you want them to do so they don't forget what to do and they feel safe and comfortable in sharing. And they can submit a video, a photo, text only, or they can do that bulk upload and send over as many pieces of content as they would like. And what's nice is you can actually limit the type of content that you'll accept per prompt. So if you only want videos for a certain question, you can make it so that only video and upload show up. And the same goes for all these other ones as well. And here you can caption it. If there's anything else you want to say about that photo, hit submit, and then they're done. Gives them a little confetti, letting them know that they've successfully sent in that piece of content. They can continue to go back and it'll take them back to this screen here to share more stories. And then this last button is a redirect here. So I know that Troy, they have a donation button, a secure donation button at the bottom here to encourage people to donate, but you can take people wherever you want to kind of close the loop on that journey there. So that's really our collection tool where people are able to submit content to your organization. And as everything gets sent in, it all gets tagged and organized automatically at the point of capture and lives in your story bank here. So this is all your original content. It's the ownership is yours. It's owned by your organization and it's private. So nothing gets shared publicly unless you do so. And lastly, and one other thing that I'll just touch on really quick here, if you do have multiple locations, we do have the ability to set up sub accounts. So if maybe you just have one organization, that's fine. It can be all under one, but you can set up sub accounts where different locations can have visibility to just their campaigns, their own story bank. So you're able to set up multiple accounts as almost like a parent-child relationship there. So it's a nice way to manage your content if you have multiple locations. And the last side, like I mentioned, aside from being able to download all that original content right from your story bank, you're able to share in Canva as well as story pages. So our story pages are just shareable URLs where you can really simply drag and drop pieces of content into a website that's custom branded to your organization. And again, that's just a shareable web page. And we have the Canva integration like we talked about. So all your Canva, all of your content can be pulled right into your Canva account. So that's really how MemoryFox works. I'd love any opportunity to meet with anybody one-on-one. We can talk more about pricing, the subscriptions, and how they work. We are based on an equitable pricing structure, so we do mirror that off of your $9.90 to make it affordable to every size nonprofit, but everybody gets unlimited storage, campaign seats, and campaigns. So we're happy to meet with you, talk to you about your camp, your event space, or whatever kind of organization that you have. I'd love the opportunity to meet with y'all